Hey, thanks for tuning in. Behind me, 2008 Mini Cooper S. We're going to be replacing the front wheel bearings and hub assembly. First thing we want to do, jack the vehicle up, put it on jack stands, and pull this front tire off. So where I'm working, the ground is really wet. So I'm going to put all our bolts on a dry surface so we're not installing wet bolts. Now we want to take the steering wheel, turn it so we have access to our brake caliper over here. We want to get these bolts off. We take a flat screwdriver or a small pry bar. We can put it in between the caliper. There's a little slot here in the middle of the caliper. That in the rotor, and we'll pull it out, and that'll suck this piston in just a little, just to give us some slop right here. So then when we pull this caliper and bracket off as one assembly, there's a little bit of play in there. So when it goes time to put it back on, it's not too snug and it'll slip on really easy. The two caliper bracket bolts are 16 millimeter. We'll suspend our caliper up and out of the way. Just hang it on the strut. There we go. So now we'll take our rotor off. It's held in place with a T50. Yep, T50 Torx. These always make me nervous. Sometimes they don't like to come off. So make sure that Torx is in there nice and tight. Nice and straight. Oh no, I don't know about this one. Shoot. So I'm going to swap to a different kind of Torx. I don't know if you could tell the difference between the two. This is the one I was using. The Torx splines are a little more pointy. These are a little more flat. I'm going to try to drive this in with a hammer and see if this can break it loose. Got it. Whew. These things make me nervous. If you can't get it out, you have to use a torch or cut it out. When we put this back in, you can see all the rust on it. We'll put some anti-seize on it. This helps hold in that rotor, makes putting the tire and everything on a lot easier if you do have this. But again, when we put this back on, we'll use a little anti-seize for the future. Rotor comes off, set that aside. So you can see the bolt threads poking through here. You'll see them on the bottom, one right there. What we're gonna do is take some penetrating fluid and just spray that down. It does take a long time for penetrating fluid to actually penetrate. So in this instance, it's gonna more be for a lubricant as we start backing that out, because we don't want this to seize inside of the hub. Okay, so while we're waiting for that, we take another flathead screwdriver, and right here on the nut for our axle nut, we want to unbend that spot. You'll see a little keyway where the nut has been peened into. We'll take that screwdriver and knock off that little peening. The axle nut is a 32 millimeter. I have an impact. If you do not have an impact, I should have showed you this first. With the rotor still on, with the caliper still on, take a screwdriver, put it in between the caliper and the rotor fins so that the screwdriver fits inside a rotor fin, and that will lock it in place. Then you could just take a big breaker bar and then break it loose that way. But we brought the heat. Then right here on our axle shaft, you just tap it a little just to make sure that it's free within the splines of the hub. This moves, so we're good. All right, now we're ready. Back behind here, let me see if I can show you. If you can see back there where the nuts are, there's 4 of them. So we'll get 2 of them with the tire turned this way, then we'll turn the tire the other direction and get the other 2 on the other side. So 13 millimeter long extension. I like using that little wobbly head. Looks like this, just helps get back in there. Break it loose. I'll just use the electric ratchet to finish it off. Came out pretty nice. All right, now we'll turn the wheel so we can get to this backside. Move this out of the way. Well, there's not much room on the top on this backside, but if you wiggle it in there, you'll get your extension in and socket in. Then we take our trusty sledge and just beat on it on this rim, just all the way around until it knocks out. There we go. And then we'll push in our center axle. There we go. That's it, it's out. So we want to take out our wheel speed sensor before putting the new one in. Having it come out with it in, I think is perfectly okay, but we want to take it out before putting it in so we don't actually damage anything putting in the new one. It's a 5mm Allen right up top. Now, depending on how stuck yours is in there, you could just wiggle it from the bottom and push it up. Just like that, and then it comes out. If you need to get a screwdriver in from the top, you could take this plate off, and there are T25 Torx to get all 4 of these off. It's just 4 bolts. This plate comes off, and you get better access behind there. But just pushing it in from the bottom did the trick for us. I'm gonna wipe this sensor off, get it nice and clean. Now I like to take a flat screwdriver and just scrape off any of the crusties on this face surface. Just get the heavy stuff off. We want our new wheel hub to fit nice and flush on the face of this. Okay, once I get all the heavy stuff off, I'll take a drill with a wire wheel. All right, and now we'll get inside as well. All right, now we'll turn the wheel the other way just to get under. Well, maybe we can get under it without turning the wheel. Yeah, looks like we got it. But if you need, you can turn the wheel the other way. That'll give you more access to position this out of the way to get it all really good. So now we're just gonna wash it off, wipe it off. Now I'm gonna turn the steering wheel straight. And we want to get our new hub assembly. Now you want to be careful with this backside. That's a magnetic tone ring for our ABS. So we don't want to accidentally drop this and damage this right here. So just be super careful. Before we put it on, we're just going to dab a little bit of anti-seize. Not a whole lot, just in this hole here. Just ever so little. Maybe even on the splines of your axle shaft. All right, rub it around. Get it dispersed. That's just a little corrosion inhibitor. Just in case this has to be replaced again in the future, it'll come out nice and easy. All right, now we can take our new one, put it in until the splines line up, perfect. Now these bolt holes can only line up one way. Let me show you back here. So even though it's on the spline, you can still turn this back here to get to line up with your holes. All right, perfect. Just get to go in the best we can. It'll get sucked in with our bolts. Now these back bolts for our wheel hub, I like to put just a little bit of blue Loctite. Doesn't take a lot, just on the threads. You get a little bubble like that, and then you could tap it. That'll sink it into the threads just a little. Putting on the bottom ones first, just to get it all lined up and in place. Get a few threads on it, and then I can just pull it in a little. Now you don't want it to be tight, because you still want to be able to move it around and wiggle it to get your other bolts in. The same on this, little Loctite. All right, now we'll turn the wheel so we can get these top ones. Now these top ones can be a little tricky, so what I like to do is just get a magnet and then put the head of the bolt on the magnet, and that gives me just a little more length that I can put it in, and then I'll just take the magnet off. If you're having trouble getting the magnet off, you can get in there with just a flathead screwdriver and hold the head of the bolt and then pull the magnet off that way. A little bit of Loctite. Flashlight. Now with this one, I'm going to suck it in all the way. Do the same with this bottom one. And we're ready to torque this side. All right, this side's torqued. Let's turn the wheel one more time over and we'll get these last two. We'll put our last bolt in. That'll be the top one on this side. And again, these top ones can be a challenge, so using the magnet. Flashlight. There we go. All right, what I like to do is just mark that I torqued them. So when I go looking again before I button everything up for the last time, I can just do a quick visual, make sure I didn't miss anything. And we can put our center nut on. We'll torque that later. Put our wheel speed sensor back in. Okay, just snug that in. Put our rotor back on. And you can see this one's pretty rusted. It should be replaced. Customer's aware of it, so they'll get a quote for that. But they can't do it today anyway, so put this one back on. I'm just breaking off the rust on the back of the rotor where it bolts onto the hub, just so it doesn't get in there a little cockeyed crooked. Now I'm just gonna put a little inhibitor, rust inhibitor, anti-corrosion. This is fluid film. I like to use this a lot, but it is expensive if you don't use it very often. Anti-seize works just as well. Just a tiny, tiny little film. You're not getting it in where your wheel studs go in. You're just getting it all around so that this rotor here can come off easier in the future. So now with our rotor little keeper bolt, I put a little anti-seize on the threads, and then when these have to come off later, it won't give us trouble. So just line this up, put that in. Just snug, it doesn't have to really be tight. All right, now we're ready for our caliper. Put that back on, make sure your brake hose isn't twisted. That should just slip right on. I'll put these bolts in. Nice. Suck those down. And the caliper bracket bolts are 81 foot-pounds. All right, we'll mark those. Now to tighten up our center nut, just like busting it off, if you don't have an impact, you can just use a screwdriver, just put it right in here. Then when you turn this, it'll get locked in because of this screwdriver's in place, and you can torque it down with a torque wrench. And that's 134 foot-pounds. Then we want to take a punch or a chisel and just re-ping that nut, and that just locks it right into place. All right, last thing to do is just straighten out the wheel, put the tire on, and then we'll take it for a quick spin to make sure that that noise, that's why we're replacing these wheel bearings, super howly, grumbly noise, make sure that's gone, and there's nothing new, no new vibrations, but everything has been resolved. All right, there you go. That's how you can replace front wheel bearing hub assemblies on an 08 Mini Cooper. This spans over a couple of years. I'll try to do the research. I'll post either in the description or in the title of this what years that it falls under. Just took it back from a test drive. Everything is nice and quiet, so this repair is finished. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe. See you on the next one.